Welcome to the Advancement Podcast. Our mission is to reach the lost in America by advancing leaders and churches so that communities are transformed. Join us as we discuss how to stay healthy as leaders, work in teams, and lead change. Come on, let's advance together.
Welcome back to another episode of the Advancement Podcast. Hey, if you enjoy what you're listening to, if you could go subscribe or rate us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on video, if you could like us on Facebook or subscribe to the YouTube channel, help us spread the mission of Jesus and the mission of advancement. I am Todd Barham, the host of the Advancement Podcast, here today with my friend, the lead consultant of Advancement Podcast. Podcast and the advancement
of advancement.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Tim Ware, how are you doing today, Tim?
Hey, we got into a rhythm of doing once a week, and now all of a sudden here we are. We were doing back-to-back recordings today.
Back-to-back today. Well, back-to-back days.
Something like that.
Yeah. The traffic on 377 is going to kill me. So I was asking on the way in, what's a different way I can come in other than 377? You ever been to Granbury? You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, it's not bad coming from my direction, coming from the country. But Todd, in our new studio, we're so thankful for the Crossing Place that's allowing us to partner with them and building a studio that we're sharing. Today, we really decided to do this because of what's going on in our country, some of the things that have been happening. We spent weeks talking about COVID. Today we have a guest with us, and this is Chris Delaurentis from Inner City Christian Ministries and the Life Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I want to say about Chris, first of all, it's great to see. Chris, we've known each other for about 12 years, I guess.
For as long as you've been on the U.S. missions team.
Yeah. So for about 12 years, and Chris and Monica, his wife, they have 3 kids, all grown kids now. But in 1993,
we have 2 kids, but if there's one more coming, all right, we'll take it.
Oh, that's right. Once you have 3, one of them just got married.
That's my son's getting married Saturday. So
congratulations.
So it is 3.
There you go.
Yeah.
He was speaking another into existence.
And he's ahead of me. My kids aren't even close to getting married. So
well, that's probably a good thing, right?
They're both anyway. We'll just leave that alone.
That's because we're older than you, Tim.
You're not older than me. We're older than Todd, though.
Much older.
Anyway, so Chris and Monica, they planted an inner city church in Minneapolis in 1993 in their apartment, and they started with 35 people in there, crammed into their apartment, drug addicts and homeless people. And over the last few decades, it's evolved into this phenomenal ministry where they have the Life Center Church, and they have internships, and they have life classes and discipleship programs and outreaches, and they're affecting that city. They actually did start another ministry in Chicago that they've handed off. So I'm thrilled to have them with us. And I would say to you, I tell people this about you, Chris, and you don't know it, that Chris is one of the most strategic leaders I have met in any circumstance, in any environment, whether from my business career through to the church. He is a tremendous leader, a strategist, and intentional. And it's so good to have you with us, Chris.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but I like that guy you're talking about, or I aspire to be that guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So first question, Chris, are you a Minnesota Vikings fan?
Absolutely.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. We got another friend that's a Vikings fan.
Yes, we actually do. We have a pastor friend who is on the east side of Dallas, is an avid Vikings fan.
Yeah. Anytime the Vikings do well, he blows up Tim and I's phone, but Tim and I just keep saying we're waiting for that Super Bowl, buddy. We're waiting.
We might be waiting a long time, but whatever.
Well, you got rid of the best quarterback you had from Texas. Case Keenum, so.
My gosh.
There's a lot of wounds talking about football here. Okay. So
Todd is missing sports. I haven't missed them. COVID may have
I watched the NASCAR race. I was so missing sports.
I would even watch baseball right now.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Stepping on Tim there.
That has been my sports passion, but I may have been cleansed of my sports addiction during COVID. So Chris, since you're there, you're actually at ground zero with some of the things that have gone on in this in the current dynamic of what's happening in the U.S. with the George Floyd situation. Why don't you give us in 60, 90 seconds, give us an update on what's going on there in your context in the city?
Well, I thank God that 1 week after George Floyd's killing, we've had 2 nights of peace in our city. But the first 5, it was the most heart-wrenching, chaotic, passion, energetic, frustrating. I just can't think of enough words that describe all the things that's happened every minute of every day. And so it's just been very traumatic. I don't know how far you want me to go right now with it, but when 2 days after he was killed, of course, people took to the streets, and in all the emotion, those who don't peacefully protest but protest with anarchy began burning buildings. Wednesday we went to where the burning was. Thursday we brought our service outside. People were engaged with us and felt supported by the church. Anarchists, of course, that's against their method, and so we had some problems with them. Friday we started doing street ministry, and then Sunday we called an impromptu prayer march from our center, which is downtown Minneapolis, 2 miles to where 38th in Chicago, which was literally the ground zero of where George died. And we had over 1,000 people walk with us and pray with us from churches all over the city. It was supernatural. So yesterday was a rest day, and today I have no idea.
Well, so Chris, has this been brewing in the city for a while, or did they just kind of come out of for the rest of us, like from where I sit, this kind of just came out of nowhere? I've not known that this was an issue in Minneapolis or anything like this, but is this something that's been brewing over time?
Well, I think it's brewing in our nation, or should I say it's unresolved in our nation, and we can see that by all the protests in every city across the world, really. So whenever there's an injustice like this that happens, it reinvigorates that the problem is not solved.
Yeah.
Back just 1 month ago in Georgia with Aubrey, and New York City, these things happen a lot, but this one I think was so clear, right?
Yeah.
Of what happened. I mean, for a guy who was buying cigarettes with a $20 bill that was forged or thought to be forged, that he may or may not have known if it was forged or not, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of this. It got on video, people saw it. This is what happens, and obviously we still have equity problems of social justice in America.
Yeah.
So so it's not it's just always been there. It's not.
Yeah.
Not growing.
For those of you that are first-time listeners to the podcast or are regular listeners, in the intro, it says that here at Advancement that we work to create healthy leaders and healthy teams and to exact healthy change and by forwarding the mission of Christ. So we're going to, when we talk about vision and we talk to leaders, we always talk about staying on mission. So we want you to know that what we're doing today in our conversation with Chris, we're staying on our mission, because healthy leaders have to lead in the middle of crisis.
Yeah.
And healthy leaders also have to lead in the middle of standing for what's right in the face of injustice and when things are wrong. But I think it's also important that we recognize that being a part of the conversation that brings healthy change is what we're about. So today we're not focusing on that particular instance, but we are still wanting to bring light, because we want to be a part of the positive change in that. So we're actually going to have two conversations with Chris. And this first one, we want to dig in a little bit into the idea of, Chris, let's talk about leading in the midst of compounding crisis. Chris and Monica, they've had to lead like every other pastor in America through COVID, quarantines and shifting to video and canceling and trying to figure out how to do discipleship. And we haven't even emerged from that. And then this other crisis was dropped right into your lap. So this is a season of what I'm terming compounding crisis. And in that, I think there's some leadership things that we can learn from where you're at and what you're doing. And I just would like to have that conversation, about that. And I guess the kind of the first thing is, how do you keep your sanity in the midst of double crisis? How do we maintain our emotional, mental, and spiritual health when there's that much weight and it feels like it's just being piled and piled?
Well, first of all, I don't know how healthy any of us really are right now in the midst of all this. Okay. At least those of us who are in urban centers, because the problems are compounded, but I think I say that because when you're deep and in the thick of anxiety and stress, and you're a leader, you have to be an example of how to lead. You have to keep your composure. You have to speak life, and you have to try to do your best to hold your team together, and that just takes so much energy. And so there's a point of being honest, right? And so I'll honestly say to you guys on this podcast that after 2 months of crisis, I'm really exhausted, So if I'm speaking to leaders, I want other leaders to know that Chris and Monica is really tired today.
And that's after you said yesterday you tried to take a break yesterday, and you're still saying, I came out of a break and I'm exhausted.
Well, I think the mental, spiritual, the constant change is exhausting. I go, and what's helped us, let me get back to your first question. So are we healthy? I believe we're healthy as we can be in the midst of this, right? How do we maintain that? One, by rest. Okay. Yesterday, as you know, you asked if I can be on a podcast on a Monday, and I was like, Tim, I love you in my mind, but I really need to keep my Mondays right now.
Absolutely.
Probably any other time of the year, any other normal time, I'd have said, yeah, no problem. I'll do a meeting on a Monday. But right now, you have to maintain your Sabbath, right? And so that's really key for maintaining health. How do you continue when you're with compound crisis moments? One thing is really important for us, because we have a team like many leaders. We've got a dozen close people who are on our inner circle, and then we have 40 to 50 on the next level circle, and it's a lot of listening. Backing up to COVID, we literally spent the first 2 weeks listening to our staff and our team and trying to brainstorm and think about, one, what's going on, right? And then two, how can we pivot in a way to really be effective to our neighborhoods? We tried to look at the crisis as to look for ways, what are the opportunities to bring the gospel and to bring the love to our neighborhood, right? And so a lot of listening. And then there was a point though, where, just talk just became noise. And we felt we listened enough, and we put together a plan of what we're going to do and how we're going to move forward. With George Floyd, which happened just a week ago, there was no listening. There was no time for listening. It was all reaction. Ever since COVID broke out, we established a feeding program where we were feeding to-go lunches every day out of our ministry. We started delivering groceries every day. And then when George Floyd happened, we already had teams going out into the neighborhood, and they just went right to where you saw all the fires, right? And it was like going out there, and we started listening to them. We started listening to our neighborhood, trying to listen to the heartbeat of what's happening. And the heartbeat, by the way, is not anarchy. The heartbeat is love and justice, right, and equity. And then from that listening, then we acted and started doing outreach. Literally, if you saw our Facebook feed, we're doing worship songs, and cars are burning behind us.
Yeah, I did. I've checked. I've been following you guys and the other guys that are in similar situations. So what I heard you say is maintain your Sabbath. You got to guard that. And I listen to your team and staff as you talk about this. Even in the second one, the phrase that we use at Advancement is "Don't go alone. Don't try to do it on your own." Mm-hmm. And then it sounds like the other thing that, and the way I heard it was, look for gospel moments, or in the language that we use in Advancement a lot is stay eternally focused. Keep that eternal component, because that's what you are doing, and that's what you have been doing. Did I synopsize that right, or did I miss it?
Absolutely, and often. It's easy to be misunderstood, right? Because we're out there at the protest, we're not protesting.
Right.
We are, but our protest is with the enemy, right? And it's the devil and his satanic influence that has his hold on our city and on our leaders and our people, right? And we believe that we stand in solidarity against injustice, but we know that the truth and the method is through the love of Jesus Christ pouring himself into people. And so when we went to the protest at first, Monica and I were there. We were walking through, and literally there was no gospel witness. There was no church there. There probably were, but there was nobody there as a group, and saying that we're the church, and we love people, and we love you, and we love our city. And so that's when we pivoted it again, right, to be out there. And not all of our team went with us, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important that we also, one of the things that the underlying, it sounds to me like he's saying that in these moments that health is emotional, spiritual, mental health is kind of it's a relative thing.
Yeah.
And that we have to be okay with that, knowing that it's just a season.
Yeah.
And the Lord will give you strength through that. So
let's take a moment and hear a word about Advancement.
Do you feel like your church is stuck in a rut? Then we've got the answer for you here at Advancement. Do you need some personal coaching? or maybe some leadership coaching, we can help you out. Contact the Advancement team at info@advancement.cc or check out the website at advancement.cc.
Now let's get back to the podcast.
You know, my question would be, you said that some of your team did not go with you. Was there reasons some of the team didn't go with you, or did you just feel that is best that you just pick certain leaders to go with you during this time?
No, even in the beginning of COVID, we gave people the opportunity and the freedom to participate with the changes as they felt comfortable. We've got, everyone isn't Monica, right? Monica is
she's all in, baby.
She's out there, you know what I mean? She's a warrior,
Yeah, she is.
So Saturday, and everyone isn't that way. They're not wired that way. But we value every team member, and we believe that God has ordained each of our team members. And so we wanted to be sensitive to understanding where they are and their comfort level, and finding jobs for them to do that fit who they are, right? Now I've got some real frail white gals on our team who will go stand with Monica in the middle of bottles being thrown, you know what I mean? and we've got some other people who are just, they need a little less chaos, so I think we just gave the freedom. I don't know what's I'll be honest with you. I'm just going to be honest in the podcast. I don't know how these two crises are going to shake itself out on our team when it's over. Crisis has a way of bringing things out in people that normally you don't see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're committed to our team. But I think I'm just going to be an honest podcaster today, right?
That's what we want.
And an honest leader that I just, we're going to, I don't know what our ministry is going to look like in 4 months or 6 months. Yeah. I don't know who's going to still be with us, because this is so difficult.
So are you saying sometimes in crisis we find out where our holes in our team may be?
It sounds like he's also saying you find out where some strength is that you may not have seen before.
You do, and
always be
and it's like, so this in reality, this last 2 months has been just like church planting. Okay,
it's right.
It's been I mean, on a leadership team, it's been identical to church planting, because you're working, you're pushing, and everybody is on full, full steam. The difference is when you church plant, you have a group of people who are going in with that mindset. Here, we've been doing ministry as we have been for quite a few years, and so there's rhythms and there's systems, and that lends itself to a different type of person than a church planting team, right? And so crisis is so intense that it's very much like that. So this has been real tough. It's been tough on our team, and I'm just praying for God's wisdom that we can
So Chris,
that we can navigate this.
I think part of something that I heard you say that I want to emphasize a minute. Let's touch on is that when we have rhythms, we get used to things, but in the midst of crisis, we use the phrase in advancement. We say in transitional times, make transitional decisions. And there's the temptation is to try to go right back to those rhythms. But you said, we're not sure how this is going to shake out. So this may not just change a staff in the midst of crisis. It may change the way you do ministry. You may not come back with the same rhythms. And I would want leaders to hear that that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chris, one question I would ask, and this is a big concern for me and my team during this time is how do you care for your team during crisis? You keep talking about you're tired. You keep talking about, your team is stressed to the max. You compared it to planting. What are some things that you're doing to make sure your team is cared for?
Sure. Well, we make sure they take a Sabbath.
Yeah.
Right.
So you protect your Sabbath and you protect their Sabbath.
Absolutely. Right.
That's good. That's good.
We encourage, we're just continually encouraging our team members one-on-one, talking to them. How are you doing? Making phone calls like outside of the staff meeting, right?
Yeah.
Hey, my friend, how are you? I can see that you're feeling a little heavy today. Just want you to know I'm praying for you. Leaving voicemails, those kind of things. Sending text messages, not just to our staff, but our board members, or some of our supporters who are all in with us. Just adding that level of pastoral care is very, very important. And then, as I said before, giving people some freedom, giving them some freedom to take time off, to not show up. One of my top leaders last week said, he texted us and said, "I need a vacation. I'll see you next week." And my flesh, right?
Yeah.
Right. Was,
how can you do this now?
Yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah.
How can you do this now? Right.
Yeah. I need a vacation too.
But you know what? People right now, you have to give them some room. You have to give them room to digest this stuff and to work through it, because like I said, we're not, we're in the middle of this, and Monica and I are taking our team into COVID solutions, into this racial crisis solution. You know what I mean? It's like we're, for using your word, we're advancing into it. We're leaning into the crises, and that's what we've chosen to do. And we know it's difficult.
Yeah. We're really coming up kind of on or to wrap this episode up. Todd, there's a lot of things that I would love to ask, but there's a few things I want to say as we wrap up. But do you have one more question that's just burning in your heart as a pastor and
one thing I would ask you is we've talked over and over and over in this, even in this episode, that things may change forever after all of this. Is this something that you're looking forward to, or is this something that you're hesitant of? Because I know you keep talking about things are shifting, I guess it's more of a personal question. Or is this something that you're looking forward to, or you're hesitant? Because I know how I feel and other leaders feel, but
so are you? All right, let me for clarity,
sure.
See if I'm asking the same question. Are you, as you lean into the crisis, does the idea of change on the other side energize you or terrify you as a leader?
Exactly.
I actually am loving in some ways, right? I don't love all the chaos, right? But I am loving all of the activity that is happening in our leadership right now. Okay. We planted this church 28 years ago, right? And in the first 10 years, we then planted or launched 7 other inner city ministries in different cities. And so, and then there was a long period of really not doing anything new, but just trying to, form our foundation. And so, I guess I'm a junkie that I love the activity, right?
Some of us love it when it's all stirred up.
But and so I think we're going to be better. I think we're going to be more. I think we're going to, as a team, we're going to be less. We're not going to move away from our programming, but we're going to be more crisis thought out. I remember when the hurricanes hit New Orleans, and Monica said, "Let's take a bus and get down there. Let's help out," right?
Yeah.
And we didn't do it. This was our moment that anytime we thought of something, we're going to do it. And it's been amazing to see the Holy Spirit come through. Our prayer walk Sunday, it was literally Saturday afternoon. We go, "Hey, what do you think if we do a prayer walk tomorrow? Let's just throw it on social media," right? I never would have thought the superintendent of our district would be there.
Awesome. Rob
Ketterling from River Valley.
Wow.
Pastor Neil Ricks from Cedar Valley. Mike Smith from White Bear Lake. All the large AG churches, pastors, their leaders were there, and they promoted it. Professors from North Central University, they all came because they wanted to be a part. And so we've learned that if you listen to the Holy Spirit in crisis situations, God's going to come through. One of our board members said, "Chris," so we were just before the walk started, "Do we have any permits or permission? What's the plan?" And I go, "You know what? We have no permits. We have no permission. And we only have the plan to walk today. And we don't know how far we're going to get." I said, so I was honest about everything that we knew. But God showed us every step of the way. Even when we were blocked to get into the ground zero at 38th Street, the local security, they've got cars that block it to protect it. There was 1,000 people behind Pastor Monica. I'm in the truck with the sound system, and somebody, and so the big guy doing security goes, "I can't let you through. I love what you're doing, but I can't let you through." And then the other guy with him goes, "Don't you know who that is? That's Pastor Monica." He goes, "Pastor Monica." And the next thing you know, 4 SUVs parted and let our crowd of 1,000 people in.
Oh wow!
And
that's
then
awesome.
We got to ground zero, and 1,000 Christians got on their knees, and in silence began to pray.
Wow!
And literally, this chaotic protest spot where they're shouting all kinds of chants like we've all heard, it became quiet, and the presence of God fell at 38th in Chicago. It was really supernatural, and that wouldn't have happened, right, if we weren't willing to respond to the Holy Spirit in the midst of crisis.
You know, as you tell that story, what I wrote down in my notes, Chris, is that the church should be present and respondent. Should be a presence and a respondent in crisis moments. And so often in the church, it's not wrong, but pastoral moments. We've talked about individual crisis, and we've talked about crisis in the people in our church. But historically, we should also be a presence in larger things. So there's so much here, Todd. At the end of every episode, Chris, I always ask Todd, "What's your takeaway?"
Well, my takeaway is something Chris just said. You know, if you listen in crisis situations, God is going to come through. I think what we're going to look back on in 2020 is, you know, I don't think any of us is going to enjoy this year. But I think what we're going to look back on 2020 is that God was shaping our new reality. God was shaping new things for the church, bringing us into a new season. You know, we look back on 9/11 and all those big crises, God's shaking and moving us into a new season. And I really feel like we as leaders have the opportunity to shape and move our organizations in ways that we've never seen before if we will just stop and listen to what God is trying to tell us right now.
I honestly believe that 2020, in my lifetime, we are seeing the greatest opportunity for the church to move forward and be a force in the world and in America.
Yeah.
And so these leadership conversations are critical so that we can have the confidence to step into these moments. This is not a time for us to shrink back.
Yeah.
This is a time for us to lean in. Chris, I am once again, I continue to just, to be so impressed with you guys. Rachel and I have been talking for years about taking driving up to Minneapolis and spending some time with Chris and Monica. We just haven't made it that far north yet, but it's on our list.
So sounds like he needs a vacation, so you can go give him a vacation.
Yeah, we have been. I want the listeners to know that we believe in this ministry. We've given to this ministry financially. Chris, would you real quick tell people if they want to contact you guys, if they want to get involved financially, if they want to follow you guys on social media, how do they make contact to be a support and to be a part of what you're doing?
Absolutely. Well, obviously you can see videos, hear testimonies, sign up for our monthly email newsletter at www.changingourcity.org. That's changingourcity.org. And really getting our monthly newsletter and sometimes a couple in the middle is probably the best way to find current events and see how you can pray for us and get involved. Obviously, like all, you can donate and support and be a part, and that's so crucial for the whole body of Christ to help ministries that are working in the front lines in the inner city. So please engage, come on out, jump in your RV, make the trip north. Whatever it is, right?
I don't have an RV, but Rachel and I have been talking about getting a small travel trailer. Yeah. We might just have to make our way north.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
And for those of you who are listening, let's lean in to what God is trying to do in this moment. Let's lean in, which means we're going to lean out of our church buildings and into the world and engage the people that need Jesus. And we'll see you next time
on the Advancement Podcast.
Hey, Chris.
If you would like to keep this content coming, all Tim and Todd ask is $1 per show. See how to give, maybe even sponsor an episode or series on the website advancement.cc. Until next week, continue to advance the mission of Jesus.